Good morning. It's good to be with you today as we continue in our time in John chapter 4. Today we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday with the Samaritan woman at the well. We read through verse 15 yesterday of chapter 4. So today we're going to read verses 16 through 26. Well, you know what? Hold on. We're going to read 16. I'll read 16 through 30. Let's read 16 through 30. Jesus said to her, "Go call your husband and come back." The woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you say the place where the people must worship is Jerusalem." Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. The hour is coming and is now here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeks such as these to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth." The woman said to him, "I know that the Messiah is coming, who's called the Christ. When he comes, he will proclaim all things to us." Jesus said, "I am he, the one who you, the one who is speaking to you." Just then the disciples came, and they were astonished that he was speaking with a woman. But no one said, "What do you want?" or "Why are you speaking with her?" Then the woman left her water jar and went back to the city. She said to the people, "Come and see a man who told me everything I had ever done. He cannot be the Messiah, can he?" And they left the city and were on their way to him. So this is where we see the conversation. Yesterday we saw the backdrop of where Jesus talked. But they began the conversation, talked about what the living water and water of life and things such as that, and how Jesus had to go through Samaria. Today we actually see the conversation, and we want to be careful reading the text, but not reading too much into the text. And what I mean by that is this: we don't know the totality of her backstory. You know, Jesus calls her and says, "Go find your husband." She says, "Oh no, I have no husband." And you're right. Said, "You've had 5 husbands, and the one you're living with now is not your husband." We don't know the specifics of why that's her context. Um, be careful speaking where scripture doesn't speak. But the context does lead us to see this. No one wants to be drawing water at noon. Okay. And that's significant. The fact that this is noon, it's a hot time to work. No one wants to draw water, then it's a challenging time. So we don't know the specifics of why she found herself in this situation. Notice scripture doesn't call her a prostitute. So we don't know for sure that's what was happening. But we know for sure that whatever the context of her life was, she was seen as an outcast by her people because she was drawing water at noon. We know that. So we see in this, we see the Jews see the Samaritans as less than. By the way, the Samaritans don't exactly love the Jews either. So let's be clear about that. So we see the Jews see the Samaritans as less than. Then we see the Samaritans would see this woman as less than. So this woman is seen as less than by people who were seen as less than. Um, and so what do we see here though? We see Jesus engaging in public conversation with her about religion. Verse 27 says, "They were astonished that he was speaking with a woman. And no one said, 'What do you want?'" So we see that the fact that Jesus is having a conversation with a woman who would have been considered an outcast by her own people, who were outcast by the Jews, and discussing religion with her. Everything Jesus is doing here is outside the norm of what someone would do, particularly a religious leader. Everything. Talking to a woman in public about religion, talking to a Samaritan, talking to a Samaritan woman, talking to a Samaritan woman with multiple husbands. Like it's like every level he goes to is going to get him in further trouble with people. But he sees in this woman worth. And if we will read this tomorrow, but we're going to see that this woman is the key to this entire community, knowing who Jesus is. So there's a lot of things we can unpack here. I do like what she does. Jesus asks her, this question. He says, "Go get your husband." She says, I don't have a husband. You're right. Yada yada yada. And then so like I'm not gonna say called her out, but let's just say she now sees Jesus is aware of her life. And what she do? She does what you want to do when you want to cause a distraction. Start talking about religion. Oh, okay. Where should we go to church at? Should we worship here on the mountain or should we worship in Jerusalem? Your people's are here. And Jesus said, no, no. There's going to come time when we're not going to worship in Jerusalem or here in this mountain. We're going to worship in spirit and truth. And in fact, that time's here because I'm the Messiah. So, you ever had the Spirit convict you of something? Or had someone convict you of sin and you immediately want to change the subject or change what's going on? That's what she does here. She realizes she's my friend Sam Morris talked to the story and said that he sees her completely. Like, what did she tell the townsfolk? Come see the man who told me everything I'd done. He sees her completely, utterly. Still loves her. And to me, that might be the most fascinating thing that happens here. Jesus sees her completely. I like what Paul says in Corinthians 13, 1 Corinthians 13, where he says, now we see as through a mirror dimly. Soon we will see face to face. Now we know only in part, but soon we will know fully, even as we have been fully known. Jesus sees us completely. Completely. There's parts of our life that we can hide from others, family, friends, doubts, fears, whatever. Whatever's inadequacies, imposter syndrome, guilt, you name it. There's parts of our lives that we can hide from others that no one will ever see. No one will see. We can hide these parts well. Build up a wall. No one's ever aware. But Jesus sees. Jesus sees completely. There's not a single part of our life that Jesus doesn't see. And here's a remarkable thing, friends. Jesus sees you completely, and he still loves you. Jesus sees you completely and totally, and he still loves you. This woman was an outcast from folks who were outcast. And yet, Jesus still loved her. Jesus still loved her, still talked to her, still told her who he was as the Messiah. And he saw the worth there. So don't understand that Jesus sees you completely. There's nothing you can hide from him or hide from his presence or hide from his understanding. He sees you utterly and completely. He does. And he loves you anyway. He loves you anyway. There's a lot of folk in our life, y'all, who feel unseen, who feel unloved, who feel unworthy, who might be like this woman who might be an outcast from an outcast. They're an outcast. They're people. Their people are outcasts. Their group, their whatever, and they're an outcast from their people, and they feel completely and totally alone. They're getting water at the well at noon when nobody else wants to. Jesus saw this woman. He sees them, and he encourages us to do the same. He encourages us to do the same. So today, you don't have to put on airs. You don't have to pretend to be better than you are. You don't have to hide who you are. Jesus sees you completely. And he loves you. And he loves you. And he loves you. Let's let's understand that. Let's internalize that. And let's share that love with someone else and see others completely and totally. Thanks for being with us. Tomorrow we're going to pick up with the end. We'll pick up verse 31 and we'll read through the end of the chapter. Well, not really the end of the chapter. We'll read through the end of this story. So we'll see you in the morning. Have a great day.